right. Hello, Internet. I keep wanting to do that intro, but I feel like
Hello, everybody! This is the Midweek Report. Welcome back for another stream / video / whatever you're watching this.
slash whatever the hell you call us, because we are really not.
We're those wacky, weird two people who just do things. We exist.
I suppose I should do like an intro to our content, because I never do that, so I'll just kind of briefly do that. If you don't know what the Midweek Report, what we do on this channel is basically we take the news of the game industry, we cover it, but we do it completely unscripted. So everything we're reading is completely unscripted and stuff like that. We have no real, list of what we're following.
Yeah, he takes sources, so at least we do have sources, yeah. And that's in the
like
description
I'm reading off,
for you.
Yes, all of the sources we read off are in the descriptions, and I have them on my screen as of currently that we can read off and tell to you. So I'm not just pulling all this information out of our asses. We actually do have legitimate sources here, so we're not just like, this isn't fake news, all right?
I mean, technically everything can be considered fake news to someone's eyes, because news is...
Let's not bring that up again, because it's a political rabbit hole.
Well, no, I'm talking about the fact that technically anyone can believe anything and everything they want to believe, based off of perception. And perspective.
But that could...
Psychological implementation.
But that's just the logic of the flat earthers. I believe the earth is flat because that's what I believe.
Well, yes, that's exactly it. Exactly. Anyways.
It's all a matter of perspective.
Being is the only guaranteed constant, so don't worry about it.
Don't worry, we'll all die eventually. That's the only constant in life. Well, note aside.
Technically, we don't die. Technically, we just transmutate into a different existence because matter can never be destroyed. So, technically, we exist till the end of time.
And
it's just not in this form.
And now that we've said die twice in this episode, I think we've officially been demonetized this time. But...
Aha! Too bad we aren't.
Too bad we aren't, because we aren't even monetized to begin with. Aha!
Aha! You can't stop me!
At least as of recording this video. Hey, if you want to subscribe to the channel and help us support this wacky content that we do on a weekly basis, we would both very much enjoy that. Not saying you have to, but we would both be very pleased about that.
You can.
You can. It's completely free.
Yes.
See the red button? It's completely free. Press it.
Too bad there's a lot of buttons here that are all outlined with red. The viewers are now confused. What button?
See the big red button that says subscribe. That button. Feel yourself drawn to its red circular borders. You must
scroll down 2 inches from this video icon and look at the big red button.
Look at the big red button. You are drawn to its square borders. You feel the succulence of the subscribe button call to you. You must press it. You must press it now.
Do it.
Do it, as I try to hypnotize our viewers into pressing the subscribe button. Anyways, we're getting sidetracked. Those who know the show on a weekly basis and have seen it before realize that I'm usually a lot faster with things, but I have actually nothing to do this week because this is my week off from college. So today I'm going to be a lot more free flow. Don't worry though, I'm going to see if I can keep our video short-ish as well, because I still maintain my logic that you guys probably don't want like a 50-hour long video. Well, it depends on how it'll shake up, but I'll try my best to keep it short.
Yes.
But anyways, so topic for this week, if you haven't read the description so far, is Activision Blizzard. Yay. Trust me, I like talking about them like Skylar. Wrong person. Trust me, I like talking about Activision Blizzard like Justin likes talking about Fallout 76, which, yeah.
Yes.
Justin looks at me from across.
Death is an irrelevancy in this context.
Deletes this video afterwards, but anyways, so we're talking about Activision Blizzard today. But yeah, so recently it has come to light, or at least come to my attention anyway, that Activision Blizzard has gone through a bit of unionization, which for those who don't know is a very bad thing in the games industry, or at least as far as the game publishers are concerned. It's a good thing as far as the workers are concerned, and I'm all for it, but for the game publishers, it's like, it's a dirty word for them. Kind of like microtransactions and gambling. No, not microtransactions. Those are a good word for them. Gambling mechanics. Yeah, that's a dirty word for them. Opens them up to a bunch of legal problems. But anyways. So, to kind of take you through this, recently, and by recently I mean like back in I think January, Activision Blizzard company had a unionization. And this unionization, actually, should I read off this article or should I read off the other one? I kind of set these articles up in a way that would kind of be canonical to how to tell this, but
Bruh.
I think I'll go with this one. Yeah. So anyways, back in January, at least I think it was in January. Hold on, let me see what the first article was. Kind of hard to pin this down time-wise. It was a few months back. Back in July, around July. But that was the announcing of the second union, but we'll get to that. Anyways, this year, it happened this year at least, Activision Blizzard had its first union formed. Among all things, it was actually among the quality assurance department of a subsidy at the subsidy Raven Software. Now, for those who don't know Raven Software, they're one of the developers who do the Call of Duty games for Activision Blizzard. Well, more Activision side, but you get the point. And the logic is that every time they make a Call of Duty game, they kind of rotate the license around. And I think they have like 3 or 4 subsidies that they kind of rotate around, and they kind of like every year give a license to, or they kind of like give them the license to make a game. So the logic is that every day, all the time, they're making a Call of Duty game. And the logic is by the time the license rotates around back to them, it'll have been several years since they've had it, and they can just release the game immediately. This is how kind of Activision keeps up their yearly Call of Duty games, despite technically being able to say there's at least multiple years of development in them. Because they're always working on a Call of Duty game, and it just basically is a rotating around license, and when the license gets to that particular subsidy, they release the game. Following here so far?
Yes.
Anyways, so one of these subsidies, Raven Software, announced that they would form a union. Like I said, specifically among the quality assurance department of that subsidy. Now, Activision Blizzard sought to block the union, reasoning that the union, and this is the MSN article I'm reading from here a bit, I'm kind of pulling from it, again, like a description. They tried to block the union, and this was back in January. That's when this union was formed, or at least announced. They sought to block the union, and they kind of thought that since it only comprised about 28 QA developers as a whole, and Ravensoft itself only has about 230 employees in total, they didn't, it was a decent number, but not huge. But regardless, the QA testers at Ravensoft, they ended up trying to form the union, and they operated under the name Game Workers Alliance, or GWA. Interesting name. And ended up actually going through, because in May, they actually made history when the union vote, because for those who aren't aware of how unions come to be, quick little history lesson on them too. Basically, it works like this. You either find a union or you try to make a union. And then, after you get everything sorted out, you have to have a vote on if the union goes through or not, and majority rules on if it goes in or not. And I think it has to be at least 60%. At least that's what I hear among certain unions. I'm not sure if that's a universal union law. But I do know at least in some places you have to at least get 60% of people to say yes for the union to pass. And sure enough, they did. The union vote passed with 19-3 of the 28? Yeah, 28 developers. And the vote passed 19-3. So I think that only adds up to about 20, 21, 22, 23... Yeah, about 22. So I don't think everyone participated in the vote. But of those who did, majority ruled and the union passed.
There you go.
So congratulations. The GWA is now the first official union at a majority is now the first gaming union recognized in a major U.S. gaming company. Congratulations, guys! Hats off to them. I'm honestly being serious. There's been a massive push for unionization in the games industry for years now. The fact that they actually managed to get through in Activision Blizzard of all bloody things is quite impressive.
There you go. They're doing it.
So yeah, that happened. And continuing on, the article continues that while the GWA was in the process of unionizing, so getting everything through, Activision Blizzard converted about 1,100 QA contractors to full-time staffers and increased the minimum wage to $20 per hour. Now, if you kind of are figuring out what's trying to go on here, I'll just spell out for you. They were trying to appease the workers to stop the union.
You kind of
basically
do whatever you can at that point.
Basically, they were thinking that if their workers were happy enough with the state of things as they were, they wouldn't unionize. Well, unfortunately, that didn't.
Why would they unionize in the first place?
Well, that is the common logic.
Yes.
However, it continues by saying the workers at Ravensoft, who are among the lowest paid in the studio. Does it actually show us what they were paid if I click on it? Because it is a hyperlink. No, it does not, but it does lead to another article, most likely going over the fact of their low pay and everything else. But again, the link to that article is within the article in the description under the lowest paid bit of the article. So if you want to read it, again, props to you. I won't quote it because, again, we haven't linked it in the description. So it would be bad ball on me to do that. But anyways, moving on. They were the lowest paid in the studio and were denied these wage increases. Activision Blizzard claimed that due to laws under the National Labor Relations Act, so basically they're hiding behind federal law at this point, the company wasn't allowed to change the pay rate of its employees in the midst of a union effort. Basically saying that because they were trying to unionize, they can't give them any union benefits, if that makes any sense. The Commission Workers of America, which represent the union, said that this was a disingenuous attempt at union busting. So basically saying they're manipulating the laws to basically prevent themselves from having to do anything about the union now having existing. So the NLRB, the act we previously quoted, the National Labor Relations Act, has officially ruled in the union's favor, however, declaring that it was illegal for Activision Blizzard to withhold wages. And it continues by saying the consequences of finding will weigh into negotiations over a collective bargaining agreement between the GWA, the new union, and Activision Blizzard. Despite formally winning union recognition, it does often take new unions over a year before coming into a contractual agreement with management. So basically before management actually gives them what they want and they can actually sign on paper. Most likely because of all the arguments and most likely stonewalling that management is quite famously known to do. Though that's just me spitballing. Regardless, Activision continues to undermine its workers and impede the union election. Despite their best efforts to undermine the workers and impede the election, it failed. And the NLRB, the Regulations Act, recognized that Activision acted illegally by basically hiding under one of its own laws. So yeah, that's how that happens. However, the story doesn't end there. I'm going to kind of cut off this article a bit early to go to a few other articles, because if you think only one union exists, you'd be wrong. There's actually two, as of current, and both under Activision Blizzard. And this is where we swap over to another article by CNBC, my bad, where it proudly announces Activision employees announce second union ahead of game company sale to Microsoft. So basically, before the sale of Activision Blizzard to Microsoft, employees announced that they would make a second union. And this article wonderfully opens up with a picture of Monsieur Bobby Kotick, the CEO and big fish, or fat cat, if you will, of Activision Blizzard. Mr. CEO himself. which,
Big fish.
there's a lot you can say about Mr. Kotick. Specifically about his lack of morals and desire to increase his pay above all else. But that's just
You
hearsay.
already know.
You already know that. Anyways, the article goes on by saying, by basically reaffirming what we've already stated, that a group of software testers, the QA testers, at Activision Blizzard have formed a company's second union in the months before Microsoft's sale, or should I say purchase, of Activision Blizzard. And is expected to close at, this is just, expected of what the deal between Activision Blizzard and Microsoft was expected to close at. I don't remember the number off the top of the head. This article says it was expected at $69 billion. I'm not sure what the actual sale price was. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but that's irrelevant. But if you remember, please tell me. I don't honestly remember. But anyways, it continues by saying, employees at the company Blizzard Entertainment Division in Albany, New York, are working with the Commission's Workers of America to assemble their own group in the Game Workers Alliance. So basically a union, or sub-union, I suppose, which was formed by staffers elsewhere at Activision. In a series of tweets under the name GWA Albany, so basically they're trying to... So basically, for those who don't know, maybe this is just me saying it for the purposes of myself, but for those who don't know, once a union forms, people can kind of work with that union to form kind of unions of their own. It's kind of like a sub-union. So maybe I'm talking out of my ass out of that one, but that's just my
interpretation
knowledge of union. Yeah, it's just my interpretation of it. Maybe I'm wrong on that one, but that's just always been my interpretation of unions. Feel free to disagree. I am not a legal expert when it comes to these things. That's just what I've always believed.
Yes.
Anyways, in a series of tweets under GW Albany, the group said it's seeking competitive compensation with transparency, better benefits, clear process for communication about workplace issues, and improved work-life balance, which is basically what they're all trying to push for with the work of helping with the GWA union. The union consists of 20 people, according to CWA, which is the, what was it? My goodness, what was the acronym for? Yes, here it is. Commission Workers of America. So basically, kind of I want to say mega union, but maybe that's not the entirely right word for it. We'll cover it later.
Figure it out.
I'm trying to figure out how to describe this in a way that's not confusing. Think of the Commission Workers of America as kind of the regulatory body that kind of regulates unions in a way. Anyways, while labor movements have historically been rare in the technology industry, just look at Amazon.
Yes.
We're not as honestly, where pay and benefits tend to be stronger than other parts of the economy, they've become more familiar recently. Small groups of workers at Alphabet and Apple. Wait, Apple? Seriously? I didn't honestly know that part. Have taken steps to organize, and in April, Amazon workers on New York Stateland Island have become the first group to vote in favor of unionization. So, take that, Amazon.
Pain.
I'm sure Mr. What's the head of... Who's the guy that founded Amazon? What's his name?
Yes.
Yeah, the guy's name is Yes. Oh my goodness, hold on. Side division.
Sidetrack.mp4.
Honestly. Here we go. Yeah. Take that, Mr. Jeff Bezos. Though I've heard he doesn't have as much stake in the company as he used to, but who knows if that's true. This is just me hearing hearsay, so... Anyways, article continues. Workers on New York's Staten Island became the first group to vote in favor of unionization at one of the company's U.S. facilities, thus referring to Amazon's facility. At Activision, the labor demands came from came with greater heft after instances of alleged sexual misconduct. For those who aren't familiar with this whole claim, a while back there was a massive sexual allegation, or sexual misconduct allegation, I suppose I should say, against Activision Blizzard that spanned over several years, if memory serves. And this is a whole ball of wax that I won't get into because it's honestly much bigger than the scope of this video and would take an entire video in itself to explain properly. I think we did a video about it in the past, if I'm not mistaken.
Maybe.
I think we did, maybe not. I know we did a sexual allegation misconduct video sometime in the past. Maybe it was about Activision Blizzard, maybe not. But anyways, look into that if you're interested. I would highly recommend you do. It's some interesting and very serious stuff, and a very big no-no on Activision Blizzard part. But yeah, safe to say Activision Blizzard deserved all this, you know, the, what's the word I'm looking for? The bad PR, let's call it that they got out of that. They deserved every bit of it. But anyways, sidetrack aside. It kind of summarized in this article by saying that at the company, CEO Bobby Kotick reportedly knew for years without informing the board, that being the kind of overarching board of management. Microsoft first reached out to Activision about a possible tie-up the same week that reported surfaced according to a regulatory filing. Yes, no, I think we did actually do a video about this. So basically the whole shtick worked like this. There was a massive sexual allegation misconduct that basically stretched out the entire company. Apparently, Bobby Kotick knew about it for years, didn't tell upper management, or the rest of upper management, I should say, about it. And it was a massive scandal. Honestly, a lot of people, I think, thought that it was going to probably bury Activision Blizzard beneath all of the legal allegation stuff. And this is when actually Microsoft, and this is, like I said, kind of alluded to in the article, kind of came in the same week all of this came out with kind of an offer to buy them, with maybe like a little pink slip attached saying we'll fix your legal issues if we buy you. So maybe a bit of shotgun negotiation, maybe not. Call it what you will. Regardless, one way or another, Activision conceded, Microsoft bought them, the allegations kinda went away. Because you don't hear about that too much on the news recently, or at least as far as I know. So, Anyways, moving on. Activision spokesperson, continuing in the article, said the company will respond to the Albany Union's petition to the National Labor Relations Board. Oh, my bad. The previously mentioned. No, never mind. No, never mind. I thought I confused my unions for a second here. Anyways, we deeply respect the rights of all employees, and this is what the spokesperson said. We deeply respect the rights of all employees under the law to make their own decisions about whether or not to join a union. Yeah, sure you frickin' do. Forgive my side commentary.
Yes.
Spokesperson continued. We believe that a direct relationship between the company and its employees is the most productive relationship. My own addendum, provided we're the ones making the rules. My addendum ending.
My personal thoughts on this.
Yeah, my personal scrawling in the margins. Regardless, the allegations against Kotick, a separate spokesperson said, based on an outside review, the board found no evidence that any senior executives, again referring to the previous allegations, ever intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay the instances of gender harassment that occurred and were reported. Sure. Yeah, I doubt that. But anyways. Back to the union activity. The union activity at Activision, whose Blizzard division produces games including Diablo, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft, one of which you are currently seeing. Well, not of the three listed, but of the games they've developed. Specifically, StarCraft. Which I hope Justin is doing good at, because I'm too busy reading articles to actually monitor how he's doing.
I mean, I'm playing against two bots, which are playing against themselves as well, so... As good as
We'll
it
see.
can be. I mean, I'm not a super micromanager that uses binds and all that all too perfectly, so I'm not.
Running like 6 macros there to like
Yeah, like
execute other
I'm not
tasks in the
like
background.
I'm not like 100 actions per minute, but I'm okay. Above the average, maybe, I don't know.
Regardless, the article continues to state about the Raven software testers who, again, they made Call of Duty, and that they, after the massive walkout in Wisconsin and layoffs and everything else, ended up forming their own union, known as the CWA, 2 months later. Funny enough, it actually mentions that the CWA alleged, the new union, or the original union, I suppose, alleged that management Activision had threatened employees that should not discuss issues concerning wages, hours, and working conditions on Slack. Huh, interesting.
Fascinating.
So basically, they tried to threaten them to stop talking about it, is what I'm gathering from it.
Seems like it.
Anyways, after the vote that favored the union, that is, Kodak, the CEO, said the company would enter good faith talks to reach a collective bargaining agreement for the Raven testers. Right. I believe everything there except the words good faith. Gonna cross that out. Like, picture in the head, like taking a marker and just crossing out good faith and writing above, because you have to, talks.
Yes. Because we must.
Or perhaps better yet, scroll out good faith and write begrudgingly. Anyways. Now, the article continues with saying that while contracts in labor relations can take some time to complete, they have said that they will meet CWA leaders at the bargaining table and work towards an agreement that supports the success of all employees. Again, I highly doubt that.
Take that as you will.
Yeah, take that as you will from the mouth of Activision Blizzard. That further strengthens our commitment to create the industry's best and most lucrative, most welcoming and inclusive workplace, and enhances our ability to deliver world-class games for our players. Again, that are the most lucrative. But anyways. And again, that's all things Kodak told. And apparently he said it in a he told the U.S. employees in a letter last month, and Now, you're probably wondering, where does Microsoft stand in all this? Because they have officially purchased Activision Blizzard as of this point. What do they think of all this unionization? Well, the article states that they have taken a more amenable approach towards the labor union, going on to say that Brad Smith, Microsoft's vice chair and president, said in a blog post in June that we are committed to creative and collaborative approaches with unions with employees. When employees wish to exercise their rights and Microsoft is presented with a specific unionized proposal. He said the company doesn't believe efforts to stop employees from starting or joining unions is beneficial. So basically, Microsoft at least appears to be more willing to accept it, and so far, from all these articles you have been told and will be told over the course of this video, don't seem to be doing anything for or against the unions, so, they don't seem to care.
For the most part.
For the most part. So yeah, take that for what you will. Now, Activision Blizzard, on the other hand, not so much.
They care.
They care. A lot. Yeah. So much so that in another article, which is, again, linked in the description, a Diablo dev, one of the games made by Activision Blizzard, one of the devs says that Activision, and this is straight from the article's title, back to its old union-busting tricks. The subtitle for this article states they accuse the Call of Duty publisher of spending hundreds of thousands on defeating the latest Union drive. So yeah, they care a lot, and not in a good way. So this article by Kotaku, again linked in description, states that CEO Bobby Kotick announced the company would begin bargaining its first union contract with the Game Workers Alliance at Raymond Software. Staff at Blizzard Albany, currently working on Diablo 4? Yeah, 4. If my knowledge of Roman numerals and my knowledge of Diablo's current release is correct. It is 4, right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, Diablo 4. It's written in Roman numerals, so it's been a while as well, so I don't remember which one they're on at this point. I have Diablo 3, so I don't remember if they've gone past that or not. It's been a while. Anyways.
Yes.
It continues. Current Albany workers working on Diablo 4 say the publisher is back to trying to union bust. They accuse Activision Blizzard of rehiring law firm Reed Smith to undermine their own organization effort rather than voluntarily recognize the company's second union. Instead of following Microsoft's lead and committing to a labor neutrality agreement, which basically says they will not help but they will not hurt, Activision has made the clear and conscious decision to deny us our basic labor rights while once again spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a union-busting firm. Now, again, for the sake of I guess, clarity? For those who aren't aware of what union-busting firms are, basically they're exactly what their name says on the tin. They're firms dedicated to producing material and rhetoric specifically designed to prevent unions and prevent the idea of unions from taking root in a company. Again, if you look up what union-busting firms are, there's a ton of examples of what they are. Ton of actual, pieces done on them in the past as well. But they're the guys who, when they are hired, have produced videos that are then distributed throughout the company about all the negative advantages or perhaps negative advantage isn't the right word, negative effects, let's go with that, of a union and the union existing and what it will do to you, the employee, and it will be a bad thing if you vote in the union and da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Basically, they're there to basically make sure nobody likes unions at the end of the day. And these are massive firms that, again, as said in the article, are paid hundreds of thousands of dollars for their work because the hope is that if they succeed, there will be no unions, which means no higher pay raises or better working conditions, which will cost the company money. So the idea is that the company will probably make its money back just by not having to do more for its employees. For those who don't know what a union-busting firm is. Anyways, the article continues. Albany Game Workers Alliance, so the subsidiary of the Game Workers Alliance for Ravensoft, or the new union, which is organizing for things like better pay, healthcare, and work-life balance, among other issues. For those who are in the coding field, you know work-life balance is a major issue. Hell, even if you do it in college, you know work-life balance is a major issue. I know both me and Justin have taken software in college, and trust me, work-life balance is not what they stress. It is work balance. That is what they stress.
Yep.
It's kind of ironic in a way, if I might just get sidetracked again. It's the idea that, it's almost like they're acknowledging, and again, we took this course in college. We actually were in the same course, actually. That's how we met, but that's beside the point.
Yep.
It's kind of funny that in college, which stresses kind of preparing you for the real world, that they don't even almost emphasize the idea that you'll have to work your teeth off and just grind your teeth off in favor of just getting stuff done. Almost like they're preparing you for the fact that the industry has no concept whatsoever of work-life balance and you'll just have to work your teeth off.
Yep.
So take that for what you will, right? They're not even lying to you. But anyways, which is why I kind of went into business. And then, sidetracking, Among other issues wrote in the press release Wednesday, the group says Activision Blizzard is re-enlisting the help of Reed Smith, the organization that offers union advice, quote unquote, in a futile attempt to delay recognition. Again, all of these words are in air quotes, which is why I say them the way they are. As the workers tell it, Reed Smith intends to urge the National Labor Relations Board to delay the individual QA groups' right to unionize. And again, Reed Smith is the union-busting firm.
Yep.
Again, they legally cannot say that they bust unions because that would be a crime, but
Oh, you know.
that's why.
Who cares
That's why
about a little crime busting?
That's why they specifically say they offer union advice, not union anti-advice. Or should I say anti-union advice? But anyways. Nevertheless, we continue. When asked for comment, the Call of Duty publisher didn't say whether it had rehired the law firm or not, how much it was paying, but it did confirm that it would once again push for a studio-wide vote on unionization, given the significant impact this change would have for roughly 150 people in Albany, formerly Vicarious Visions, who I believe they're the guys who did... They either were the ones who worked on a Star Wars game that never went through, or they're the guys who used to work on Dead Space. I can't remember which one. But anyways. It continues. We believe every employee in Albany who works on Diablo should have a direct say in this decision. It should not be made by fewer than 15% of employees, company spokesperson Rich George wrote in an email statement. It went on. The team based out of Albany's location is an integral group that shares a focus on the same game franchise and works on related game franchises and functionality. These employees share significant commonalities in their work, and maintaining cohesiveness throughout the complex game development and production process is essential. Not entirely wrong, but you can clearly tell what they're trying to do here, which basically means if they can get as many people in this vote as possible, there's a much higher chance that they will vote against the union, as there's a much greater percentage of people that they can focus on for anti-union rhetoric. But I digress.
Yes.
In the bottom, it continues. This is the same playbook the company rolled out last time when Raven Software first sought to unionize. First, it integrated QA staff directly into other disciplines within the wider studio, and later it argued that for this and other reasons, the entire studio should vote on a union rather than just those in QA who had already overwhelmingly supported it. Ultimately, the NLRB, the National Labor Relations Board, sided with the workers, but it still delayed proceedings by months. In the meantime, Activision Blizzard worked with Reed Smith, an international firm, that boasted on its website at the time of helping companies avoid and fight unionization. It even kept a PowerPoint presentation on its website that included slides on how unions sought to exploit lazy workers. And I quote that.
Yes.
And strategies for persuading workers that unions were a bad idea. The presentation has since been removed. I wonder why. So you can kind of see what the playbook is here. Again, like I said, their whole shtick was that if they can integrate the workers who already supported the union into the wider studio, they could increase the chances that the vote would go against the union. Not only that, but if they could hire a firm that could create anti-union material, as well as, like I said, integrate them into the wider studio, it would slow down the process, which would give the firm time to sow anti-union rhetoric throughout the studio. Now you can kind of see what the shtick is here.
Kinda.
Anyways, Activision Blizzard renewed fight against unionization comes just 2 months after Microsoft currently set to acquire it for $69 billion, again referring to the previous acquisition by Microsoft, which has at this point already happened. Part of its campaign to get regulatory approval for the biggest tech acquisition in history, it seems like it might signal a new playbook for Activision as well. Apparently not. The deal is expected to close before June 2023. Now again, this is referencing the acquisition, which already happened. So there you go. There is one other article I haven't played from yet, mentioning how the success of Raven Software's first union, the Game Workers Alliance, if memory serves, is only the beginning, and how it could be the beginning of a much grander kind of push for the industry. Considering at this point, unions in the games industry are non-existent outside of the Game Workers Alliance and the now Game Workers Alliance Albany. It kind of is a good sign for the industry moving forward because, like I said, companies in the games industry are legendary for exploiting its workers. CEA.
Yes.
As a prime example. The other devil in the room we have, ironically, not talked about through the course, or not ironically, interestingly enough, not talked about throughout the course of this entire story, somehow, up until this point. I will say one line from this Wired article about it, though. Then, like I said, it's stating the Activision Blizzard union win is only the beginning. One line from it says, Microsoft has been open to employ unionization. My bad. Xbox head Phil Spencer told staff the company would recognize Raven's union once the merger was complete. So basically saying that once they bought Activision Blizzard, they would simply recognize the union. They weren't going to fight or anything. They were just going to say, okay, you're a union. Overriding the Retaliance? Maybe I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, I think it's Retaliation. No, it's Retaliance, I think. Anyways, Activision Blizzard has repeatedly shown in response to worker efforts. So yeah, it shows you that, you know, at least Microsoft is not against the unionization, and they seem pretty open to it. Like I said, they're simply saying that once the merger is complete, they're going to recognize the union. Which is nice, because I think, if memory serves, technically there is some legal jargon they could put up by saying that since they're a new company, they don't recognize the union, and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But they're not doing that, so...
There you go. It's not a complete mess over.
Not a complete mess, no, not at all. But yeah, there you go. What time are we at, Justin? 50 minutes?
We are at 43.
43. Not bad, actually. Not bad. So yeah, that's a general overview of efforts of unionization over at Activision Blizzard, of all bloody things. I'm myself just as surprised as some of you, I'm sure. I didn't think Activision Blizzard would be the ones to first unionize, considering who Activision Blizzard are.
But, you know.
But then again, maybe it was inevitable. After all, Activision Blizzard, outside of EA, is probably the greediest company in the room, so it was only natural that they'd be the first ones to unionize when their employees finally got sick of the rhetoric. It was bound to happen eventually when you think about it. It's just a matter of when, not if.
Oh.
And turns out that's finally happened, so...
Yes.
Oh boy. And like the Wired article alludes to, this is a good sign for the games industry. Like I said, there's a ton of worker discrimination in the games industry and just worker... I don't want to say harassment, but, well, harassment in some ways, yes. See the previously mentioned sexual harassment of Activision Blizzard. But also, just worker abuse, I suppose you could say.
Put through the ringer constantly and all that.
Honestly. Funny enough, I think some workers have even said that exactly, where they just put you through the ringer.
Oh, there you go.
But yeah, there you have it. Me, like I said, I think this is a good sign for the industry. What do you think, Justin?
Could be a good sign. Could be a push. Don't know. It depends if the extreme comes out.
Yeah, no, definitely. Could be. Could be. We will see.
We'll have to see what their choices will be.
But yeah, that's the end of things. I'll leave you with that.
Yes, and don't mind me as I clearly am trying to starve out the AI.
Are you just robbing them of all their resources?
Not, kinda. I mean, I've got 4 bases. One of them's completely mined out. The other 2 are beginning to show signs of being mined and all that. But I'm just basically going along the lines of, yes, let me just starve out the AI. I do find it interesting how one AI is basically protecting the other right now.
Very interesting.
What can you do? What can you do? I know. Kill them.
Kill them all. But anyways.
Win the match.
I suppose we'll leave you with that.
Yes. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and you do hopefully like the fact that Activision's kind of being pushed back from what they normally do.
Indeed, they're often quite cruel. So the fact that they're not, in this one case, is quite nice. Well, no, they're still cruel, but the fact that someone's finally fighting back in an effective way is
good.
Good to see. But yeah, we'll leave you with that. Hope you all enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. You know how it usually works around here. Let's see if we can get to 20 subscribers. Both of us, I think I can say both of us at least, would be very happy to see it.
Yes.
Anyways, and with that,
have a good night,
and with that, we leave you. And as always, good night.